Sarah Jenkins thought it was just another babysitting gig, a peaceful evening, some quick cash, nothing complicated. She never imagined the family would be missing, or that the baby she was supposed to watch was not a baby at all. On a crisp October evening in 2003, Sarah pedaled her bicycle down the quiet street of Elmwood Lane. The streetlights cast long, dancing shadows on the pavement. She was heading to number 42, the Miller's house. Mrs. Miller had called her yesterday, needing a sitter for their infant son, Leo. Sarah was told to arrive at 8 p.m. As she approached, she noticed the house was dark, except for a single dim light glowing from an upstairs window. The front door was slightly ajar, creaking softly in the autumn breeze. A wave of unease washed over her. It was strange. She double-checked the address on a crumpled piece of paper in her pocket. This was the right place. Taking a hesitant breath, Sarah pushed the door open and stepped inside. "Hello?" She called out, her voice swallowed by the cavernous silence of the house. The air was frigid, stagnant, carrying a faint, musty odor. It felt empty, abandoned. On the polished hallway table, propped against a vase of withered flowers, sat a plain white envelope. Her name, Sarah, was scrawled on the front in shaky, almost childish handwriting. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened it. The note inside was brief. "Sarah, so sorry we had to run out. An unexpected family emergency. Please look after our sweet Leo for us. He's in his crib upstairs. We'll be back as fast as we can. Thank you, the Millers." A postscript was added at the bottom. "P.S. There's a delicious chocolate cake in the fridge we baked just for you. Please help yourself. Make yourself at home." Sarah frowned. It was unprofessional for them to leave without waiting for her, but the thought of the money was reassuring. She was saving up for a new guitar. She dropped her backpack, which held a well-worn copy of Stephen King's The Shining, and made her way up the creaking staircase toward the nursery. The nursery was bathed in the soft glow of a small nightlight shaped like a moon. A wooden crib stood against the far wall. The room was tidy, almost too tidy, like a stage set for a play. A small, still form lay under a blue blanket. This must be Leo. He seemed so small, so fragile. Sarah tiptoed closer, a small smile forming on her lips. Babysitting could be easy after all. She gently adjusted the blanket. "Hello, Leo," she whispered. The baby's eyes snapped open, but they weren't the soft, unfocused eyes of an infant. They were sharp, intelligent, and unsettlingly aware. They stared directly into hers, and a shiver traced its way down Sarah's spine. She dismissed it as a trick of the dim light, her imagination running wild. She spent the next hour trying to soothe Leo. He was unnervingly still and heavy. She tried to give him a bottle of milk she found in the fridge, but he refused it, turning his head away with a firmness that seemed out of place for a baby. His fussing was more like a low, guttural growl than an infant's cry. Eventually, after what felt like an eternity of rocking, his breathing evened out, and he seemed to fall asleep. Downstairs, Sarah settled onto the large, comfortable couch in the living room. The silence of the house pressed in on her. To distract herself, she thought about the chocolate cake. Her stomach rumbled, but a familiar pang of frustration followed. Sarah suffered from a rare metabolic disorder called phenylketonuria, or PKU. She had to follow an extremely strict low-protein diet. Sugary, rich foods like chocolate cake were strictly forbidden. Even a small slice could make her severely ill. She walked to the kitchen and opened the fridge, mostly out of curiosity. There was a decadent-looking chocolate cake on the top shelf. It looked delicious. For a moment, she felt a pang of longing, a wish to be normal, to enjoy a simple treat. She closed the refrigerator door, a sigh escaping her lips. Returning to the living room, she picked up her book, The Shining, and tried to lose herself in the haunted corridors of the Overlook Hotel. She pulled a blanket over her legs and began to read, the only sound in the house being the faint rustle of the pages. An hour passed. Lost in the story, she felt her eyelids grow heavy. She let the book rest on her chest and drifted into a light doze. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Sarah's eyes fluttered open. She remained perfectly still, listening. Another creak, this time on the stairs. Her heart began to hammer against her ribs. Maybe it was just the house settling. Old houses made noises. But this sounded different. It was deliberate. It was the sound of footsteps, slow and heavy. From her position on the couch, she had a clear view of the staircase. She held her breath, her eyes locked on the top of the stairs, expecting to see a burglar, an intruder. But what she saw was far more terrifying. A figure emerged from the shadows. It was the size of a toddler, dressed in the blue baby pajamas she had seen on Leo. It was crawling, but not like a baby. It moved with a disturbing, spider-like agility, its limbs contorting at unnatural angles. It descended the stairs with a practiced, silent stealth that sent ice-cold terror through Sarah's veins. Her mind struggled to process the impossible sight. It reached the bottom of the stairs and stood up. It was no baby. It was a man, a fully grown man, but his body was horribly stunted, no taller than a 3-year-old child. His face was a grotesque mask of aged, wrinkled skin stretched over a small frame, with the same sharp, intelligent eyes she had seen in the crib. He was the man responsible for a string of unsolved poisonings across 3 states. A serial killer known to the media only as the Nurseryman. His real name was Arthur Finch, a 44-year-old man with a rare form of primordial dwarfism. He scanned the room, his gaze landing on the kitchen. He crept towards the fridge, a sickeningly sweet smile spreading across his face. He opened it and looked inside. His smile widened when he saw the chocolate cake, still untouched. Sarah watched, paralyzed, as he let out a low, satisfied chuckle. He thought she had eaten it. He thought she was already dying. He turned his head slowly, his dark eyes scanning the living room until they locked with hers. The smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure, murderous rage. He realized his mistake. He realized she was alive and well. A primal scream tore from Sarah's throat. The spell of fear was broken. She scrambled off the couch, her book thudding to the floor. The man let out an unearthly shriek and charged at her, his short legs moving with terrifying speed. Sarah didn't hesitate. She bolted for the front door, fumbling with the lock in a blind panic. She could hear him behind her, his guttural snarls getting closer. She finally wrenched the door open and burst out into the cold night air, not daring to look back.
Help!
She ran,
Help!
screaming for help, her lungs burning. Lights flickered on in neighboring houses. A man yelled out, "What's going on?" She didn't stop running until she collapsed on the lawn of a house 3 doors down, sobbing hysterically. Minutes later, the street was filled with the flashing red and blue lights of police cars. The officers listened to Sarah's frantic, almost unbelievable story. They approached 42 Elmwood Lane with their weapons drawn, but what they found was an empty, silent house. They swept every room from the attic to the basement. There was no sign of Arthur Finch. The baby clothes were gone. The note was gone. The only evidence that anyone had been there was a single, untouched chocolate cake in the refrigerator and a copy of The Shining lying open on the living room floor. The police later confirmed the house belonged to the Miller family, who were, in fact, on vacation visiting their grandmother in another state. They had been gone for a week. Arthur Finch had simply broken in and made it his new hunting ground. Sarah Jenkins never babysat again. The terror of that night was seared into her memory, a permanent scar on her psyche. For years, she would wake up screaming. The image of the man in the baby pajamas crawling down the stairs burned into her mind. Arthur Finch, the nurseryman, was never caught. He vanished that night, melting back into the shadows from which he came. The police have no active leads. Is he still out there finding another empty house, another unsuspecting victim? Is he alive? We may never know. The shadows are watching. Will you return for more? Like and subscribe if you want to hear the voices that whisper in the dark.